Dive into the rich tapestry of Colombia, a nation born out of conquest, revolution, and in the early 16th century, a significant change in the course of history occurred. The indigenous peoples of what is now known as Colombia, diverse in culture and tradition, faced a powerful threat. The dominance of foreign weaponry and tactics proved too formidable. The conquest was brutal and unrelenting, and the indigenous societies were fundamentally upended. These communities, once thriving, were forced to succumb to foreign power. Their lands seized, their way of life uprooted. But the story doesn't end there. With the arrival of the Spanish, came the sinister shadow of slavery. Africans were forcefully brought to Colombia, their lives shackled in chains, their freedom reduced to nothing more than a distant memory. They toiled in mines, plantations, and households, their sweat and blood seeping into the soil of their new, unwilling home. Yet in this crucible of subjugation and despair, something remarkable happened. The diverse cultures under the yoke of oppression began to meld together. Indigenous, Spanish, and African influences intertwined, giving birth to a unique and vibrant culture that would become the backbone of Colombia. In the city of Cartagena, the air was filled with the rhythms of African, the flavors of indigenous cuisine, and the influence of Spanish architecture. This cultural fusion acted as a beacon of resistance and resilience, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the Colombian people. The genesis of Colombia was fraught with struggle and conflict, but from the ashes of conquest and the chains of slavery, the foundations of a nation were laid, a nation that would continue to endure, to fight, and to evolve. From these tumultuous beginnings, the seeds of revolution would soon sprout. Enter the era of La Gran Colombia, a short-lived republic that dreamt big under the leadership of Simón Bolívar. This was a time of revolution, of optimism, and of a vision for a united South America. In the early 19th century, the Spanish colonies in South America were a hotbed of revolutionary sentiment. La Gran Colombia was born out of this fervor, a republic that encompassed modern-day Colombia, Ecuador, Panama, and Venezuela. At the helm of this ambitious project was Simón Bolívar, a military and political leader who devoted his life to liberating his people from Spanish colonial rule. Bolívar's vision for La Gran Colombia was grand. He dreamed of a united South America, free and independent, a continent that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the great powers of the world. His leadership during the Wars of Independence was instrumental in turning this dream into reality as he led his forces to victory against the Spanish. But the dream of La Gran Colombia was not to last. Political divisions, regional rivalries, and economic challenges proved too great. Despite Bolívar's best efforts, the republic began to fragment. By the early 1830s, it had dissolved into the separate nations we know today: Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, and Panama. Yet, the dissolution of La Gran Colombia was not the end of its story. It marked the birth of the Republic of Colombia, a nation that carried with it the legacy of Bolívar's dream. Even today, the spirit of La Gran Colombia lives on in the national identity of these countries, in their shared history, and in their ongoing quest for unity and independence. Though La Gran Colombia was short-lived, its legacy would forever shape the destiny of Colombia. It is a testament to the enduring power of a dream, to the courage of those who dare to envision a better world, and to the indomitable spirit of the people who strive to make that dream a reality. As we delve deeper into the history of Colombia, we will see this spirit come to life time and again, shaping the nation's past and guiding its future. In the wake of political turmoil, Colombia would give rise to numerous rebel groups, each with their own agenda. The stage was set in the mid-20th century when the country was gripped by a violent period known as La Violencia, a civil war between the liberals and conservatives that would last a decade. The chaos and destruction left in its wake would provide fertile ground for the emergence of guerrilla groups. One of the most notable was the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC. Formed in the early 1960s, FARC's roots were in rural communities. Its members sought to address social inequality and land reform, but their methods were controversial, engaging in kidnapping, drug trafficking, and acts of terrorism. FARC would become a significant player in the Colombian conflict, and its struggle with the Colombian government would last over half a century. In the same era, another group emerged from the shadows, the National Liberation Army, or ELN. Inspired by the Cuban Revolution and Marxist ideologies, the ELN aimed to overthrow the Colombian government and establish a communist state. The ELN, like the FARC, would adopt guerrilla warfare, bringing a wave of violence and instability. The late 70s saw the birth of yet another group, the 19th of April movement, or M19. Unlike their counterparts, M19 was initially more politically driven, focusing on electoral reform. However, they too would resort to violence, with high-profile actions like the siege of the Dominican embassy and the storming of the Palace of Justice. These rebel groups, each with their unique philosophies and tactics, played a significant role in shaping Colombia's history. Their actions led to prolonged conflict and unrest, impacting the lives of millions, and their legacy continues to influence the country's quest for peace. These rebel groups, born out of social and political unrest, would cast a long shadow over Colombia's future. In the midst of chaos, the notorious Pablo Escobar rose to power, ushering in an era of unprecedented violence and corruption. This period in Colombia's history is often referred to as the reign of Escobar, a man infamous for his ruthless tactics and insatiable thirst for power. Pablo Escobar began his journey as a small-time criminal, but his ambition knew no bounds. He climbed the ranks of the underworld swiftly, eventually establishing the Medellin Cartel, an organization that would dominate the global cocaine market. Escobar's empire was built on blood and violence, but it was also built on a keen understanding of the socio-economic landscape of Colombia. Parallel to Escobar's rise, the Cali cartel, led by the Rodriguez-Orihuela brothers, was also making its mark. Unlike the flamboyant Escobar, the Cali cartel operated under the radar, using their connections with the Colombian elite and political class to expand their empire. The two cartels, though rivals, were equally responsible for the wave of violence and corruption that swept through Colombia during this period. Escobar's downfall was as dramatic as his rise. Hunted by the Colombian government and rival cartels, he was killed in a rooftop shootout in December 1993. The Cali cartel, on the other hand, met a less dramatic end. Faced with increasing pressure from the Colombian government and international law enforcement, the cartel's leaders were arrested and their empire dismantled. The reign of Escobar and the Cali cartel had a profound impact on Colombian society. The violence and corruption of this period eroded trust in the government, deepened socio-economic divisions, and tarnished Colombia's image globally. Despite efforts to move past this dark chapter, the legacy of this period continues to cast a long shadow over Colombia. The reign of Escobar and the Cali cartel would leave an indelible mark on Colombia, one that the nation still grapples with today. Two tragic events would further scar the nation: the Avianca airplane crash and the El Espectador explosion. In the late 20th century, Colombia was shaken by two heart-rending events, each one a chilling reminder of the country's ongoing strife. The first was the Avianca airplane crash. On November 27, 1989, Avianca Flight 52, carrying over 100 passengers and crew members, was en route from Bogotá to Cali when it was tragically brought down by a bomb. The man behind this horrendous act? None other than infamous drug lord Pablo Escobar, who had intended to assassinate presidential candidate César Gaviria, although he was not on the plane. The entire nation mourned as the shocking news spread, forever imprinting the date in Colombia's collective memory. Not long after, on September 30th, 1989, another shocking incident occurred. This time it was the El Espectador newspaper building in Bogotá that was targeted. A car bomb planted by Pablo Escobar's Medellin cartel detonated, causing significant damage to the building and injuring dozens of employees. The attack was a direct response to the newspaper's critical reporting of the Medellin cartel's activities, highlighting the immense danger journalists faced in their pursuit of truth. These catastrophic events had profound impacts on Colombian society. They amplified the public's fear and anxiety, demonstrating the far-reaching power and brutality of the drug cartels. Moreover, they underscored the urgent need for peace and justice, propelling the government's efforts to combat the cartels and restore stability. Yet, amidst the horror and grief, these events also sparked a sense of unity and resilience among Colombians. People rallied together, supporting each other through the dark times and standing strong against the forces seeking to tear their nation apart. It was a poignant testament to the indomitable spirit of the Colombian people. These tragic events would serve as a stark reminder of the cost of conflict and the urgent need for peace. In the wake of such tumultuous history, present-day Colombia strives to heal and grow. As we venture into the year 2024, Colombia, a country vibrant with culture and steeped in history, stands as a testament to resilience and endurance. The nation's past, marked by the rise and fall of powerful figures, the emergence of rebel groups, and the struggle for power, has undeniably shaped its present, yet it is not a legacy of despair, but one of strength. Each chapter in its history, each trial and tribulation, has led to a Colombia that is determined to learn from its past and build a brighter future. Today, Colombia is a democratic republic with an economy that has seen consistent growth over the years. It is the third largest economy in Latin America, with its main industries being petroleum, textiles, and food processing. Despite the challenges of inequality and poverty, Colombia has made significant strides in improving living standards, reducing poverty levels, and expanding access to education and healthcare. Yet the shadows of the past are not entirely dispelled. The legacy of the rebel groups, such as the FARC and ELN, still lingers. The government continues to grapple with issues of corruption, drug trafficking, and human rights violations. These challenges, however, are met with a steadfast determination to create a more just and equitable society. Colombia's rich cultural heritage, symbolized by its enchanting cumbia music and vibrant festivals, continues to flourish, attracting visitors from around the globe. The city of Cartagena, once a hotbed for slavery, now stands as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, its beauty and historical significance drawing in countless tourists each year. Colombia's journey is one of transformation, a nation continually evolving, persistently striving to overcome its past while forging ahead with optimism. The challenges remain, but so does the indomitable spirit of the Colombian people, their resilience a beacon that guides the nation towards a brighter future. Colombia, a nation shaped by its past, continues to write its future with hope and resilience. From its early beginnings to the present day, Colombia's journey has been one of resilience and transformation. This nation's narrative has been penned by the indomitable will of its people, etched into the annals of history, and continues to unfold in real time. We started our journey with the genesis of Colombia, a land rich in history and culture. We learned about the impact of slavery and the significant role that the city of Cartagena played in shaping the early days of this country. Next, we delved into the era of La Gran Colombia, an ambitious dream of unity and independence championed by Simón Bolívar. This period, although brief, left a lasting imprint on the nation's identity. Bolívar's vision, though not entirely realized, laid the foundation for the Colombia we know today. The emergence of rebel groups marked a tumultuous chapter in Colombia's history. From the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, to the National Liberation Army, or ELN, and the M-19, these groups drastically affected the country's political landscape. Their actions, often controversial and violent, sparked decades of conflict and turmoil. Then we journeyed through the of Pablo Escobar and the Cali cartel. This era, marked by drug trafficking and violence, cast a long shadow over the nation, yet it also led to significant changes in the country's law enforcement and political structure. The Avianca airplane crash and the El Espectador explosion, tragic events orchestrated by these cartels, further underscored the severity of this period. Fast forward to Colombia today, a nation that has weathered numerous storms to emerge stronger. Despite its turbulent past, the country has made remarkable strides in recent years. It's a testament to the resilience and determination of the Colombian people, who continue to shape their nation's destiny. In the year 20, the echoes of the past continue to reverberate, shaping Colombia's present and future. The historical events we've discussed today have left indelible marks on the nation's psyche. Yet, they've also fueled a relentless drive for progress, a spirit of resilience that remains a cornerstone of Colombia's identity. To understand is to appreciate the complexity of its past, the vibrancy of its present, and the potential of its future. History is not merely a series of events. It's a continuous narrative, a tapestry woven from the threads of individual stories, collective experiences, triumphs, and tragedies. Each chapter adds depth and color, contributing to the rich mosaic that is Colombia. While past has shaped Colombia, it is the spirit of its people that will define its future. As we close this chapter, let's remember that the story of Colombia is far from over. It's a living narrative, one that continues to evolve with each passing day. Through resilience and transformation, Colombia and its people continue to write their history, charting a course towards a future filled with promise and potential.